I asked the vendor, I said, आपके यहाँ तो पहले कुल्हड़ में चाय मिलता था, अभी आप प्लास्टिक में क्यों देते हैं? Why do you sell tea now in plastic cups? Earlier you used to sell it in earthenware. So he said, अरे ये modern है ना.
God.
I think that statement is very revealing of many
Yes.
things. It's revealing of the fact that as a society, it has been ingrained in us that what is earthy, what is our inheritance, our inheritance of a legacy in sustainability. Because I think India, as one of the ancient civilizations, has had the remarkable ability to live in harmony with the earth. And if you actually study ancient Vedic ways and forms of living, whether it is your medicine or how you run your home or how you cook, everything kind of leads to the understanding that you need to respect, nurture, worship, and understand that everything that comes to us and forms a part of our health and well-being comes from the earth. And it is really, I think, this concept of modernization and urbanization that has created a consumerist culture that is completely ignorant of the damage that this packaging is creating. You know, this so-called fancy idea of living, or this modern way of living, that is causing the toxicity that it is. There are more and more Indians today that are going back to the basics, back to our roots, our understanding that we need to celebrate our ancient wisdom and kind of revisit it. So there are more people now refusing thermocol and plastic cutlery and packaging. There are more and more people who are using more earthenware to cook at home. There are more and more people refusing to buy packaged food, are kind of opting for unpackaged items, identifying on going to more farmers markets. I'm sure Pragya will add to it.
Yeah, I think what I can add here is, and this is just my belief, that somewhere we as a film fraternity has a lot to do with uh, pushing that consumerism out there, not only in our films, but also in the way we are portraying ourselves as individuals to be aspired towards. So whether it's fashion, to not reuse clothes, to always have the latest things, have the biggest car, the newest of this, like you said. I think we as a industry really do need to take responsibility to a certain extent, that we are creating this what do you say, we are creating this need for consumerism in the general I'm going to say audience, but the public, right, at the end of the day, because that is what we are selling to a certain extent. And also our obsession in between with the West and their way of living, and that way of living was better than our way of living. I mean, it's quite deep rooted. There was a certain point where we were told that we are savages, and our ways are not good enough or not the right way of living. So I feel somewhere that is so deep rooted that their way is better than our way. And if you look at it now, the entire Western world is looking at Indian ancient culture and trying to adopt as much as they can from our old Vedas and our culture and heritage. And I think we are now realizing that, okay, maybe we were not so off as we think we were. But I think that want, that aspiration of being Western in our way of consuming and being, and even in our movies and the way our industry functions, that we do promote consumerism to a whole nother level. And I think that is something we need to change as a community and as an industry, that we need to stop telling people that you have to have new clothes every time you step out, or if you don't have the newest phone, you're not cool enough. That something that we sell, whether it's on social media, whether it's through our films, or just the way we are as a society,
I feel artists are playing a very big part in helping more people understand the impact of our consumerism on the environment. There are some very amazing installations that have really shaken up global communities, that have been created by artists. We also have a UNEP, the United Nations Environment Program works very closely with Sudarshan, who's a sand artist, who is continually putting out some very powerful messaging about environmental action through his sand art. And like that, you have people who are creating murals and paintings and installations to help create environmental awareness. And the other thing that I wanted to share was that my father was an artist, and I remember he used to do workshops in my school. And one time he did a painting workshop with the students who were older than us. I think they were in the 7th or the 8th grade, and they painted the entire library wall as a rainforest. And I must have been about 6 or 7 when this painting was done. And I remember being besotted by this painting and feeling very proud that my father was involved in, creating it. And after he passed away, every day until I was in school, I would see that wall and I was reminded of his presence. And it almost felt like he was with me in school. And I think that is the power of art. It is, like Pragya said, it's a very personal, very emotional, but I also think in many ways it's also a very important instrument of guiding empathy and creating and stirring love and positivity in people, and action also. We are at the crossroads of our survival as a human species, and with the extent of devastation and destruction that we caused to our planet, leading to species extinction and to also immeasurable human misery. And I mean, even this current crisis that we are collectively enduring because of the pandemic is all at the hands of human behavior. And quite simply put, sustainability means something that can survive our actions, and ensuring that we create a life, a way of working, a way of living, a way of being that can ensure health, survival, and peace and progress for all. And all includes every living being on our living planet. So that's what sustainability really is. And the Sustainable Development Goals, I think, are the North Star, a very, very vital and important roadmap for us to consider and imbibe in our individual lives.
I agree with everything you've said, and you've said it so beautifully. And I think just to add on to that is that I think sustainability is also in our everyday choices that we make, that when you have the option, choose the more sustainable one. So for me, if you look at it on a smaller scale, would be that everyday choice that you make, which is for the planet, for the animals, for the insects out there, for all the plants that we have. And I think if one chooses out of kindness rather than greed, we will overall achieve the goal that you were just talking about.
Nobody has started treating the climate crisis as one, and I'm compelled to think that's true because it's not a vote bank issue yet. And how does something become a vote bank issue? Something becomes a vote bank issue when citizens stand up and say no. I will not vote for you unless I see climate action in your electoral agenda. I will not support you. I will not consume your products. I will not use what you're manufacturing. I will not travel or stay or whatever it is that we're doing unless and until you choose the more sustainable way.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I think as individuals, we do have the power to achieve that. And I think we have seen that in the past. That, and at the end of it, it is a consumer-led uh, thing at the end of the day, because it they will supply whatever we buy. And if we say no, that, we don't want this, they have no choice but to change. So I think we need to acknowledge and realize the power that we do have as individuals, and start making those changes that will help for the bigger change to come in. So, like you said, it's still not there yet. We do need, on an individual level, I believe that's where we have our strongest power. Not only make changes, but ask for change at the end of the day.
I know that Pragya has inspired so many of my choices. Whenever she shares, or she has in the past shared, say, for example, the names and the products of companies that are producing sustainable items. And I know that she's also been inspired by some of the things that I've shared over the years.
Absolutely.
I think that power of participation and advocacy and sharing makes a big difference in inspiring and kind of helping the consumer more to become more aware. But I'm actually honestly not so sure whether this is enough. We really need to step up action. Governments really need to step up on the choices that they're making. They need to start taxing carbon. They need to, have much more stronger environmental assessments. And I think that in order to really achieve the goal of sustainability by 2030, it'll take a lot more stronger action from people and government. Carrying our own traveling bottles, our refusing single-use plastic bags, or all the other items that we've refused. Between Pragya and me, I think we've given up practically every item of single-use plastic that we can. We get ulcers when we see somebody using plastic. So I don't know if it's enough, but yeah, we try.
Right, and I think, yeah, I mean, like you said, we can only do so much. I mean, we can raise the awareness, we can talk about it, we can, call people to join our cause. We did a beautiful beach cleanup together at one point, and we got so many people united. You introduced me to such lovely people like Pradeep, and you know, we can only do so much at the end of the day. If and that's something I've noticed when I've been working with Eksat, that it is extremely difficult to create change without government support. We don't give up at the end of the day. We keep pushing, we keep talking about it, we keep inspiring each other and others, of course, as well. And I think that unity and that inclusivity, and that's something I really learned from you, and I really admire that you are so inclusive when it comes to anyone wanting to join you or learn from you, and you are so giving when it comes to love to people who are actually making that everyday difference. Like, I've seen you so many times, anyone doing anything, you always make sure that their voice is reached. You always talk about it. I've noticed that people who care for the environment, they have a lot of empathy, they have a lot of love and gratitude, and I see that mostly in children. When you go out with kids, and the way they love nature and the way they talk about it, there's so much empathy, and I don't know where it gets lost on the journey of growing up to becoming an adult. It's lost somewhere.
Honestly, I think it's the direct result of capitalism and consumerism. So, and urbanization. I think the urban culture and the capitalist culture is to encourage consumerism. Buy more, want more, need more, have more, have more. the latest technology, the latest phone, the latest fashion label, the latest of the latest of the latest. So and these are concepts that I think were introduced very not so long ago, especially in India, perhaps. I mean, I remember during my childhood, when I was going to school, we would get only two types of shoes and footwear, and that's what we wore. And there were no brands and labels and all of this stuff that we have now in the market. I remember my mother's getting my dresses and my clothes stitched from the local tailor, made to measurement, and I would get like those 10 outfits during the Sera until I outgrew them. And most of the other clothes that I wore through the year were hand me downs from my older cousins or my friends who were slightly older than me. And it was fantastic. And I remember even in our kitchen, and even the purchases. So we would go to the market with a jute bag. All the vegetables and fruits would be purchased from directly from vendors, not packaged in plastic, and of course placed directly in the jute bag. They will be brought home. Everything would be separated and then washed. And none of the jars, like none of the storage items were plastic. It was either ceramic or earthenware or brassware or steel. How India and the various Indian cultures and expressions of art wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the inspiration of nature. Right from color, if you look at all of our indigenous art forms or our tribal art forms, they all are completely inspired by nature. And a lot of the material that is used, in fact, all of the material that is used is totally natural, made with like natural materials, non-toxic materials. Our traditional architectural styles across states are perhaps some of the most resilient, natural, wonderful styles of architecture. So much so that, take for example, the Santhal villages and the homes that are made by the Santhal tribals. These homes are now being replicated in European countries as sustainable homes. And there are obviously the scientist community is studying and researching how sustainable so much of our cultural and cultural choices, and of course our architectural art, all of these inheritances are. And for people now who are moving forward and who are understanding the link between environment, health, and human health, and understanding that we all need to make more conscious choices, I do believe that, yeah, I think architecture can play a very big role in the way we are building our cities and how we're making them more sustainable. And I would like to believe, and I would actually hope, that architectural schools will now start implementing many of the ancient styles of architecture that we've inherited, because they are completely sustainable and they're made completely in sync with the needs of our geography, of the kind of light that we get, of the kind of weather and the kind of climate that we have. We do create art that is a response to what we are experiencing. It's an emotional response to our experiences, what is happening in this world, what is happening around us. And that's what shapes the narrative of art forms, whether it is cinema or it's music or it's a painting. But at the same time, I think there has been, again, unfortunately, an escapism in mainstream art, especially in cinema, that I hope will uh, not persist, because I feel like there's so much to be said and so much to be explored and so much to be conveyed, to help people understand so many more things, and make us all better citizens, not just of the planet, but better citizens and better people for one another. And I feel like cinema is one of the greatest and most powerful instruments of change.
Creative thinking, I believe, is the leader in innovation across all boards. And I mean, we did, when we made our film Kedarnath, we did try to see how we could bring a message about sustainable development through by subtle messaging. We did that with the entire, valley coming together and discussing that, we should not develop too much. The valley can't handle it. We spoke about the littering that was happening across the pilgrimage, and we try to subtly see if we can, send this message of sustainability through cinema and through art. And actually, a lot of people did pick that up, and we did have a lot of people coming and telling us that, what, we are so happy that you did that, because it's so important that we talk about it through art and through cinema, of what's happening in the world and what were the actual causes for such a big natural calamity that happened. Um, and I think that is definitely something that we would want to continue on as we make films, as creative people, to talk about how we can bring sustainability in, not only in a film messaging, but overall as an industry, that how can we as creative people uh, unite with sustainable thinking and forge the way forward for people to follow. Even bring that sustainability angle into their art. I mean, you see these beautiful Indian installations and Indian artists working with Indian elements, and I think they're putting it out on a world platform. I think that is extremely beautiful, and I hope that we can see more of that and just see how art, creativity, and sustainability and the world can go together, and hopefully evoke a bigger message within people's heart towards the earth. So a big thank you to you guys for bringing us together to talk about art and sustainability. So yeah, thank you.
I'd like to thank the Kiran Nadar Museum of Art for having this conversation on art and sustainability with Pragya, a person I have deeply admired, and I'm inspired by every single day. I think these are conversations that will truly lead to great change and environmental action. And I feel like art is one of the most powerful instruments of change. So thank you for having us.